What's up, ladies and gentlemen, and everybody? It's Krim here for Sleepers for the Week, and yes, I'm finally doing it. I'm finally making a video about Netflix's Cowboy Bebop live-action TV series.
They tried to kill me, Anna. If you need to find me, I go by Spike Spiegel these days.
I honestly didn't even know if I was going to make this video or not, because after watching the series twice actually in a row, I wanted to really soak it in and get to understand everything about the show and compare it to my love for Cowboy Bebop. And by the time that I wanted to sit down and actually create a video about it, this happened.
After just one season, Netflix has chosen to cancel the live-action Cowboy Bebop adaptation.
Spike and friends won't be picking up any more bounties despite the cliffhanger.
The streaming platform was swift in its decision, opting to cut the project loose following its November 19th release.
As you can tell, the internet was not very happy. The majority of people that I watched reviews of completely, absolutely despised the show, which, well, I don't know what you're expecting out of this video. If you're expecting this video to be more me also agreeing with a lot of those people and saying that it was the worst anime adaptation ever created, then you're not going to like this video, because I actually enjoyed the Cowboy Bebop live-action adaptation. Maybe it was good that it got canceled, maybe it wasn't. I am one of those that would have loved to see what they could have done and improved upon for season 2. However, we're never going to get that. We're never ever going to get the second season. It's canceled, and abominations like this are still going to exist. I don't understand how anyone can honestly say this is one of the worst anime adaptations when literally this exists. This exists. I'm not trying to say that Cowboy Bebop is perfect. I'm not trying to say that it is the best anime live adaptation, but it's certainly not the worst. Now I'm going to dive into what I didn't like first, because that's what a lot of people want to hear first. Well, you say you like it and you were a fan of it, wanted to see it continue. What did you not like about it then? Tell us that. Well, let's start with the most obvious. I think that even people who enjoyed the show and didn't enjoy the show can both agree on the fact that Vicious was probably one of the worst written and worst casted characters in the show. I was even willing to accept the new rendition of Vicious because they had to bring him into the fold, they had to show more of him, they gave him more of a character arc. I was okay with it. The actor they picked for him was so wooden. And the funny thing is that a lot of the reviews I watched, they thought one of his worst performances was the flashback sequence when it went back to the Syndicate days with Spike and Vicious. I thought that was some of his best acting that he had done in the entire show at that point. I kind of was like, yo, I'd kind of like to see a Syndicate series with Spike and Vicious. That might actually have panned out better than what they did with this. But I digress, we're probably never going to see that either. However, I think that the actor that played Vicious was very wooden. I don't feel like that he really embodied Vicious, even this new iteration of Vicious, because clearly he didn't embody the original, because this is not the original Vicious. We have to get that out of our brains. This isn't the original Vicious. This is not the cold, calculated, manipulative Vicious that we know. This is a very high-strung, emotionally driven Vicious, which honestly would have been fine if they had gotten an actor to play him well. But Vicious, I'm sorry, that didn't make the cut for me. I was never once felt threatened by him. I never once felt scared of him. I felt like he was a child with outbursts, violent outbursts, that clearly put Spike a notch above Vicious, which we all kind of knew Spike was a little bit of a notch above Vicious, but the thing about the anime is you never really got to see that until the final moments of Cowboy Bebop. And in this one you can clearly tell Vicious is not cut out for this. He is not up to par with Spike. He won't ever be up to par with Spike. So one of my biggest complaints and one of the biggest things that I didn't like about the live action adaptation was Vicious. The second one is going to be, well, spoilers, sorry. I mean, the show's been out for months at this point. Spoiler warning, but Ed. The appearance of Ed at the end had me very worried. because there's a big debate about taking an anime and bringing it into live action. There's a lot of people who are like, it just shouldn't exist, period. There are a lot of people who say, well, I like it if they change it enough to where it works well in a live action setting. And then there's people who go, no, none of that in that anime can work in a live action setting if you do it one-to-one. They seemed like they were trying to do Ed sort of one-to-one from the anime with how Ed acts in the anime, and it just came off as very cheap and cartoony and completely out of place. Now, I know Ed and Ein are supposed to be more of a comic relief character in the show itself, and that's great, and that could still work in a live action setting. I feel like they could have just toned Ed down a bit. That was going to be one of my worries going into season 2. I kind of liked the idea that Ed was this background hacker character that was kind of feeding them information here and there, because I was also worried about how does Ed work live action. And I'd still love to see it. I would have loved to see what they could have taken from the feedback, because I honestly feel like any feedback that would have come off of this show, they would have taken to heart, and they would have worked that into season 2. I really do believe that. And also, that teaser of Ed at the end felt so shoehorned in. I still don't even think that that was going to be the final version of Ed, because I feel like they just kind of shoehorned it in at the last second, just to give people who were bitching and complaining about no Ed finally being able to see Ed, which the creators already said months ago about how the reason why Ed's not in it is because it only takes place during the beginning parts of Cowboy Bebop. Ed would come in later. And every time I read something online, it seemed like people just completely didn't even care to read the articles about the creation of the show. Every time an article would come out with new content about how they were making the show, I read up on it because I wanted to see what direction they were going in. Most of the comments were just spewed with, "Where's Ed? I want Ed. There's no Cowboy Bebop without Ed. Where's Ed? Where's Ed?" Well, now you got Ed. Are you happy? Are you happy?
Spike Spiegel!
Honestly, I was kind of leaning on the side of people saying if Ed's not in it, I don't really care. Ed's a great character. A fantastic character in the anime. But does it really work with live action? I don't know. I don't know. And seeing that preview, it was a very much no, it does not work. It looked like one of those 90s Capri Sun or Game Boy Color commercials.
Easy. Now go. Go! Go! This way! This way! Yeah! Extra points! With games like Super Mario Brothers now in color, you might actually forget where you are. Game Boy Color. Get into it.
Just completely absurd, in your face, out there. Like, what is this? What am I watching right now? This should not be in the show at all. Now let's get into some more of what I liked about it. One of the big W's that I think this show had from, not Jump, but when they finally announced it, was keeping the composer Yoko Kanno in the mix. Keeping the original theme, keeping the same sounds and the music that made Cowboy Bebop bop. That was going to be so necessary, and I'm so glad they didn't do some sort of weird remix version of the way Cowboy Bebop sounds. I'm glad that they got Yoko Kanno on, and she did all of the music for it. You got to see some little renditions on stage at the bar. It was so cool to see that, and it just felt Cowboy Bebop. It was there. You could feel the soul of it. That's why a lot of people, I don't agree with a lot of the reviewers when they were like, it's Cowboy Bebop with no soul to it. And it's like, the soul was there. The aesthetic was there. There were good things that they were trying to do with the source material. I like the fact that they were taking some stories and changing the way it gets to the ending. Like, we all know kind of how the story is going to end based off of the episodes we've seen in the anime. I like the adventure to the end of that story is different. I like that. I'm glad that they didn't do everything one-to-one. I'm glad that the aesthetics were done one-to-one. I think that was the biggest thing for me. I want to see Cowboy Bebop. The story and how you get to stuff in Cowboy Bebop, that can be altered, that can be changed, that can be updated, whatever. I don't really care about that. I care about that the aesthetic is nailed, the music is nailed, and the writing is somewhat decent. And to be honest, I enjoyed the writing in this. There were some things that were a little,
You, bottle of Chianti, 2 bottles if we're feeling dangerous.
I mean, kind of really,
Sounds to me like blackmail.
You're damn right it is, because, Jet, you are black and you are male.
cringe. And that was bound to happen with any type of live action adaptation of an anime. There was probably going to be some cringy moments. There was probably going to be some kind of... Comparing to a lot of other anime that I've seen adapted into live action, this one was not that bad. It wasn't that bad. And I know some people are going to say, well, regardless if it was that bad or not, it still wasn't greatness, so therefore we should just bury it and forget it ever happened. And I have to disagree. I really have to disagree. I was having fun with it. That's another thing too. A lot of these live action adaptations, for the most part, are not even fun. They're not even fun to watch. They're just kind of a slog. They're a slog to get through. They're still bad. They still have bad acting. They still have bad music. They have bad storytelling. They have bad almost everything. And by the time you're done watching it, you're like, I'm glad. I wish I had never seen it. I wish I had never seen it. And with Cowboy Bebop, I got to the end of it and I was like, that was kind of fun. That was actually like, there was fun. And I had enjoyment out of it. And to see that so quickly they canceled it, so quickly people had so much hate and ire against it, that's why I didn't make this video right away. I was kind of like burnt out on seeing, like, I was hoping like maybe there's a couple people that enjoyed it, maybe a couple people got something good out of it. No, it just seemed like every review was just fucking torches and pitchforks. Like, on top of that, there is one other thing that did irk me. Julia and Vicious. We already talked about Vicious prior, but the way that this series wraps up Vicious and Julia is pretty bad. It's very bad, to be honest. If they were going to go the route they went with the show, which honestly is not a bad route, it's not a bad twist, but at the same time, Vicious being such a little baby bitch, because Vicious was so pathetic, it didn't have any weight. And since we're into spoilers, we'll just talk about it. Julia takes down Vicious, but keeps him locked up in a room because she's now going to be the head of the syndicate. Which, she's never alluded to that throughout the whole show of wanting to do that. She's always wanted to be out of that. She's upset that Spike lied to her and was still alive all this time. She slowly figures out that Spike is alive. And she's basically trying to screw Vicious over, which she ends up doing. But at the same time, then she turns and wants to become the leader of the syndicate because, fuck Spike for lying and being alive. Fuck Vicious for being just an asshole. I'm going to be the leader of the syndicate now. Doesn't really make a lot of sense. It really doesn't make a lot of sense. And I know they were setting that up that she was going to be more of the Vicious of season 2, I guess. Which, once again, would have been great if it was written correctly and I actually really hated Vicious. Like, if I actually had grown to hate Vicious and not just be like, you're just kind of a pathetic loser and I don't really care what happens to you. Like, the acting with Vicious is what kind of like was the fire that lit the powder keg that blew up the plot for that. That's honestly where that came down to. And for that to be a twist was kind of lame. That to me was poor writing. Poor writing was having Julia all of a sudden be like, I'm going to be the leader of the syndicate, and I'm going to trap Vicious, and I'm going to shoot Spike and shoot him out a window. But, besides that, we had a setup for season 2. It set it up for it, just with the wrong characters. Now, I think that the main 3 were fantastic. I thought that Spike was casted well, Jet was casted well, Faye was casted well. I thought they all did a fantastic job. I loved that Faye was more sassy and tenacious and just fuck you in your face. I liked that. I liked seeing how Spike and Jet already had a camaraderie together. They were already clearly friends for quite a while, but there was still something that they didn't know about one another, and I thought that was great. But seeing them all come together and work together was awesome. That companionship, the chemistry there was there. I felt it, at least. I thought that out of the whole 3 though, Jet knocked it out the park. He played Jet so well. I'm looking this up because I don't want to butcher his name, but Mustafa Shakir, I really hope I said that correctly. You did an amazing job as Jet. Holy crap, to the mannerisms, to the voice, everything about you playing Jet was amazing. And if anything, we deserve a season 2 to see you play Jet more. I thought you knocked it out the park with that. The added story with his daughter and his ex-wife and all of that together, I thought was so well done. Even the story about how he got his arm and how he was kicked out of the force for trying to catch a crooked cop. You know, all that was done so well. I thought his backstory and his just who Jet is as a person was done so well, and he played that character top notch. John Cho, I thought, did a very good job as Spike. Everyone was kind of complaining about his casting. Everyone was complaining about the entire casting. Let's be honest with that. From the beginning of all this being announced, I thought he did a very good job as Spike. Honestly, couldn't tell that he was like 50 some years old. I was not aware that John Cho was that old. And he doesn't really show it in the show, so props to him. And he did so many crazy stunts as well. The action was very well done. Seeing him kick ass as Spike was fantastic. I loved his kind of smart alecky Spike that he had with him. Spike was also a little bit different too, but still I think he held his own, and I think that he brought a life to Spike that was needed. Daniela Pineda? I'm hoping I'm saying that right. Don't want to butcher her name, but wow, I loved you as Faye. I thought Faye was so well done, and people were shitting on Faye. Why were they shitting on Faye? They actually evolved her character and made her character better in the live action. In my opinion, I thought they did. In my opinion, I thought they made her character even better. I love her sass. I love her fuck you attitude. I love how they put all of that together. And the only thing that of course didn't hold a lot of weight is when you do find out about her backstory, that little moment she has when she sees the video of her past. It did hold more weight in the anime because you had been with her for longer. It didn't really hold as much weight in the show because everything was happening so fast. I'm glad that they still kept it in. I'm glad they still put it in there for them. And she links with them very well. The chemistry of all of those three coming together just work. And I would have loved to see season 2. This is basically going to be a video about me hoping and bitching that we're not going to get a season 2. But the top three, the three main people in Cowboy Bebop rocked it out, and I loved every second of it. I think everyone did good except Vicious. I'm sorry, I give the storyline, like the whole thing in general, I like a 7 out of 10. It was kind of average. The best episodes that shown to me that like outshined the rest, even the main story, were the standalone stories. I thought the standalone stories were so well done. That's honestly kind of the big thing about Cowboy Bebop is all those standalone stories until you get the bits and pieces of the main story to build up to that climax. The main meat, the main story, it's okay. The standalone episodes were the best episodes. Music, I mean, we've already talked about music. I'm giving it a 10 out of 10 straight up because Yoko Kanno. The soundtrack was fantastic. I loved every bit of it. There were so many times where I sat back and was just like, ooh, just like crank that up and just jam out to that style, man. Like they had the music 100% on point. Music's 10 out of 10. That's all I'm gonna say about that. Graphic wise, like the way it was filmed, the way it was shot, actually really well done. I have to give this like a 9 out of 10 because there were a lot of times where some shots looked a little cheesy. But for the most part, there was a lot of really cool filmography here. There was a lot of really good CG. There was where some things looked like sets, like the backgrounds and like the landscapes and like things that were CG'd were done really well. I was very surprised. They put money into it. They put a budget into it, and I can appreciate that. So everything else was selling me. I was getting sucked into the world. I was getting sucked into the way everything looked. The aesthetic was 100% Cowboy Bebop, and I loved it. And so that brings me to the conclusion here. The conclusion is that I would have loved to see more. I would have loved to see more. And I'm very sad that it got canceled so quickly. So quickly when things like this still exist. Look at what we're getting. We're getting another one of these. We're getting another. I didn't ask for that. I know a bunch of people on the internet didn't ask for that. But we're still getting one of these. Why? Why are we getting one of these and not a second season of Cowboy Bebop? The second season, the first season of Cowboy Bebop was 10,000 times better than this movie. Why is this getting punished over the abomination that's Death Note, the movie? Blows my mind. Completely blows my mind. I thought they had potential. I thought that even with all the feedback, with everything, like even with my feedback, like I did have some problems with this series. It's not that this was a perfect 10 out of 10 for me. It's not like this was going to be the anime live action adaptation that was going to set the bar. I was hoping that maybe it would have been. I've mentioned that in my prior videos. I was hoping that this could have been the thing that would have set the bar for live action anime adaptations, but it didn't do that. But it was enough for me to want more. And it was enough for me to see that people were at least trying to step in the right direction with things like this. Maybe some miscasting, maybe they could have done a little bit better on some writing here and there. But for the most part, very enjoyable, and I had fun. And ultimately, it comes down to the fact, did you have fun? I, for one, was able to at least separate the anime from the live action in this instance. And it's the only live action adaptation that I've watched that's really made me go, oh, that's kind of cool. I like how they did that, or I like how they took from that, or I like how this looks, or this sounds, or yo, I kind of like that plot here. I kind of like that plot there. There were some things where I was like, meh, but ultimately I had fun. So what did you think? Let me know in the comments down below. I know a lot of people hated this adaptation. I want to come out and give my final verdict for Cowboy Bebop, the live action adaptation, as an 8 out of 10. It ain't perfect by any means, and I'm not trying to push that it's perfect, but I had fun with it. And I know that a lot of people that I showed also had fun with it. So the fact that the majority out on the internet seems to have hated this thing, it's kind of sad. It's kind of sad, and also makes me think that you've not watched any other type of live action adaptations, because there's a lot more worse than this. If this is what you think is the bottom of the barrel, you have not gotten there yet. So maybe one day down the road, they'll reconsider. Maybe they'll open it back up. Maybe they'll give us season 2 and we can see where that would have gone. But until then, we've got this one series. We can always go back and rewatch the anime and the movie. And, you know, keep on trucking. So that's it for me. I wanted to go ahead and get this video out because I said I would keep up with talking about it, and I wanted to do this eventually, but honestly felt really shot down after I saw how many other people hated it and that it was immediately canceled. So very, very sad indeed. But those are my thoughts. I had fun with it. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought. Did you have fun with it as well? I hope some of y'all did. And let me know what you're looking forward to in the future. What other live action adaptations would you like to see? What episodes were your favorite? Let me know in the comments down below. And until next time, I'll see you guys very soon. I'm probably gonna do a video about Chainsaw Man because I just actually read that. I know, shocker, I read a manga. I did, and it was Chainsaw Man. I might do a video on that soon. So if you want to see that, let me know. Hit that like button and comment and share this around. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Until then, stay safe, wash your damn hands, be kind to one another. I'll see you guys in the next one. See you, Space Cowboy. Peace.